Good evening and Merry Christmas. Thank you for spending part of your holiday with us. I'm Rob Caldwell.
And I'm Samantha York. Coming up tonight on 207, children's book author Matt Tavares joins us to talk about his Christmas book and how he creates illustrations that bring the story to life.
And later in this half hour, in February, more than 200 athletes will represent Team USA at the Winter Olympics in Italy. The goal is to win a medal and see the American flag raised. Those flags are made here at home, and the same pride felt by the athletes is felt by those stitching the stars and stripes. But first, one of Maine's Christmas traditions has become one of its most popular. The annual Gardens Aglow at the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens attracts thousands and thousands of people who come to see the spectacular show of lights.
It is nearly impossible to look at the lights without wondering about the staggering effort that must go into putting them up. 207's Don Kerrigan wondered about that too and went to Booth Bay to find out.
It's 2 days after a big windstorm, and Brent McHale is making repairs. Prowling the pathways of the Coastal Maine Botanical Garden, where at this time of year, it's all about lights. The annual Gardens Aglow has become a huge attraction here. And if holiday lights were music, Brent McHale would be both composer and conductor.
How do you like it so far this year?
Oh, I love it. I think it's very different, very unique. Of course, we got the lighthouse in the back. That's kind of our crown jewel this year.
Yes, the lighthouse, the centerpiece of this year's display.
Hey, maybe we do 6 feet. He's like, maybe we do 12. We're like, how about 10? And we settled on 11 and a half. So it's about 12 feet tall and about 11,000 lights on it. So, and our staff twist-tied and wrapped all those lights.
More on that lighthouse later. First, about Brent. He grew up in New York State and says he began playing with Christmas lights at his parents' house.
It was fun, bringing people joy and magical, just, when people drive by the house and it's like, oh my gosh, look at that. And now I get to do it on a huge scale, which is wonderful.
Brent got a degree in horticulture, came to the gardens first as an intern, and stayed as a full-time staffer. And soon discovered they also like the lights.
And it's fun.
It's very fun.
Because when the person in charge of Gardens Aglow moved on, CEO Gretchen Oster asked who wanted to take over.
And Brent raised his hand, and he has some, as I'm sure you've seen, he has an amazing eye for putting the lights together and the colors.
I love it. Just the creative expression and freedom to kind of showcase all of this, and lights are a very unique medium.
It is a massive job. They put up hundreds of thousands of lights every year, lighting trees and plants and scores of standalone structures.
Roughly 66 miles is what we figured out that we put up. So it takes, it takes 10, 11 weeks to make it happen.
So if there were a job posting, it would say, needed somebody to install 66 miles of holiday lights.
Yes. Well, thankfully it's not one person. It's one person designing it with help with others, but it's many hands putting them up.
It basically takes everyone who works at the gardens to get it done.
We start hanging lights around Labor Day, and the horticulture team's out there a couple days a week.
That's right. Even while they're still tending the plants, the staff is also working on lights.
Well, the first 2 weeks of lighting, we attached, this is 25,000 lights.
They made a carpet of blue lights woven onto a net fence, which was later draped across these bushes to look like ocean waves.
Brought it out 2 weeks before we opened and made these hoops to give it kind of this undulating effect.
The ocean effect, of course, to go with the lighthouse. Because the glow, as Brent calls it, comes from more than just trees and plants.
So we have over 300 lighted sculptures total, and we try to base it off botanical things and animals that you can find in Maine.
Colors, placement, what spaces will and will not be lit each year, and always taking care to protect all the plants. Big trees get lights too, like these tall pines and one of the garden's popular trolls.
You pleased with how this came out for the first time?
Oh yes, very, very happy with this area, and everybody's loving it. I was hearing the other day, there's always a line to take pictures.
Gardens Aglow runs 5 to 6 weeks from just before Thanksgiving to New Year's. They expect 120,000 visitors to make the trip here. And for a place devoted to plants, the holiday lights have become a big and important piece of what they do.
It's a key piece of revenue, but the other really important piece is it's a key piece of keeping our team employed year-round.
This is one strand of lights that have three colors, purple, aqua, and blue, and this is called Aurora.
But what a pretty time consuming.
Yeah, I'd say this tree probably took 4 hours to wrap or so, maybe 4 to 6.
For one person?
For one person, yep.
The hard work is done. For now, the show is on. But even before the lights come down, Brent is not thinking about spring and summer planting.
I'm already thinking of ideas for next year right now, and how I can reimagine and change it up and keep it fresh and, yeah, get inspiration.
Thinking where and what to light, what colors to use, how to make it spectacular while protecting the gardens. And yes, thinking where that lighthouse might go next year.
Those of us who struggle to get the lights around a modest-sized tree in the living room have a hard time imagining what it is like to do that work.
Seriously, a lot goes into that, and they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
All the different displays that they have. I love the little goose that they showed because it's so fun to see what you can do with lights. But I will say, I was thinking, how often are they having to go out to like switch out the light bulbs if they burn out, or are they so extravagant that you don't even notice?
I don't think
if
that's a
something
major
goes
problem.
out?
I forget the exact rationale, but I don't think that's a big problem because that would just
Drive me nuts.
yeah,
Drive you nuts.
that would just
yeah.
be inducing insanity.
Oh, but it is pretty to look at.
Yeah.
Totally. So Don did that story in 2023, and this year's Gardens Aglow is open until January 3rd.
It's closed New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You can buy tickets on the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens website, and if you've never seen it, it is genuinely spectacular. All right, coming up next, we're talking with author Matt Tavares about his Christmas children's book. Stay with us. Matt Tavares is an author and illustrator who lives in Algonquin, and he tells stories for the most discriminating readers around, young readers. He's with us here on 207 to talk about his new book. It's called Dasher Can't Wait for Christmas. Thanks for coming in. It's good to see you again.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
How long does it take you to write and illustrate a children's book?
For the most part, I do about one book per year. So they take me a while. That includes a lot of days I'm off traveling, doing school visits, stuff like that. But
Obviously, your illustrations are just so eye-catching, and they pull young readers and older readers like me in from the first page. What's the ratio? How much time do you spend writing, and how much time do you spend illustrating?
it's mostly illustrating. Yeah, they take me a long time. Sometimes, especially for a picture book, I mean, sometimes you can hem and haw, and the story can take a long time to really get it right. But sometimes the story comes pretty quickly, and then it's spend that year making the pictures for the most part.
I know one of the little tricks that you've used over the years is that you will take photos of friends and acquaintances, family, and so forth to give you an idea of the image that you then want to illustrate in a book. How did you approach that when writing a book about reindeer and about Santa Claus and so forth?
Yeah, it's always a combination of my imagination with some reference photo just to help it look real. So I went to the zoo. I took a bunch of pictures of reindeer and used those. So if it was a scene where Dasher is laying in the snow and I need to like remember how their legs bend when they're laying down, I could look through my photos and make sure I tried to get that right.
This book is a sequel. The first one was called Dasher,
Yes.
and it became a New York Times bestseller. Were you surprised at its popularity and its success?
Yeah, like it was amazing. I mean, like Dasher was my 20th book. And I'd always had that little pipe dream, like to make the New York Times bestseller list. But by that point, you kind of feel like, maybe that's not going to happen. But yeah, it's made it every year since it came out. It's been on the New York Times list, which is pretty amazing.
Obviously, that's a dream for a writer, and it leads you to saying, all right, I want to catch lightning in a bottle again. After that book came out and did so well, were you able to kind of figure out why it had caught on?
We'll see, I guess.
Does that just
Does that
remain an eternal mystery?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Like just to see that it resonated with so many people, more than any of my previous books had. And kids especially started asking if there were going to be more Dasher books. And I hadn't planned one at the beginning, but then I started trying to figure out, what could happen next. And
You
led
go
to
out
this
and
one.
do a lot of events at schools. Over the years, you've been working as a professional for more than 2 decades, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of school events. What is it that you get from kids when you talk to them that you just don't get from adults?
Well, kids are so upfront and honest, so you know right away. If you read a story to a group of 100 kids, if they're really into it or if they're not into it.
If they're looking out the window, they're looking out the window. They don't care about being polite.
Adults will be polite, right? But kids, you can tell, oh, I've got to work on this one. This is not grabbing them. So yeah, it's good to try out the stories with real kids.
How long did it take you to come up with the idea for Dasher Can't Wait for Christmas after, as we said, having published the original one, done the original one about 4 years ago now?
Yeah, it took me a while. At first, the first book is an origin story about how Santa's reindeer became Santa's reindeer. So when I was first trying to think of a sequel, I was almost trying to come up with something with as much weight as that. At one point, I went further back and tried to think of an earlier origin story, but it was getting a little too confusing. So I kind of just brought it back to just thinking, Dasher's like a kid. And now at the end of the first book, I left her in a really good place. She's at the North Pole. She's with her family. Everything's great. But there's one day that really stands out, Christmas. And she just can't wait for Christmas. So once I had that idea, it came together pretty quickly. But yeah, I didn't want to do a sequel just for the sake of doing a sequel. I wanted it to be something I could be proud of and something I thought kids would love. So it took me a little while.
Well, it's a charming story, and it's a Christmas story, but with a twist. You take familiar elements, but we look at them in a new way. Again, the title, Dasher Can't Wait for Christmas. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
you being here. Stick around. Back with more of 207. But before we go, I should mention more information on the book, on Matt, in the 207 section of our website or app, and we'll return in a moment. More than 200 athletes will represent the U.S. at the Winter Olympics in Italy. In this Journey to Milan Cortina story, we go behind the scenes at one of the country's largest American flag makers.
David Greenberg shares how Olympians feel about the significance of the stars and stripes.
It's fitting. The largest American flag maker
The pride to go out and say, hey, I work for the Annan Flag Makers.
comes from small town America.
We have a great team here in Coshocton, Ohio. We always come together. I am part of that team.
Bobby Parks is the director of operations.
So these are all automatic machines.
Operations that began in 1847.
It's a lot of history. We take a lot of pride in what we do here.
My father lives 3 hours away. I send him a flag and he flies it. And he says my daughter makes that for him.
These flags are a figure representing freedom, courage, bravery. Annan flags have stood as a symbol around the globe and beyond.
When you see your flags at different events, it's just amazing to be part of that.
In our country's most defining victories, honoring President Lincoln, soaring to the moon as a small step became a global triumph, and rising over the battlefield, a moment etched in history.
You're part of the flag because you're making the symbol of the United States.
And a symbol of Olympic glory, draped across the back of champions.
When the national anthem plays and you're singing and the flag's getting raised, that's the main moment where I feel most connected with home, with Team USA.
When I stand on top of that podium, it's not about me. It's about everybody who helped me get to that point, and it's about representing my country to the very, very best of my ability, and it's something that I don't take for granted ever. The amount of pride that I feel is unmatched.
I just feel like such overwhelming happiness and pride when I see it.
Annan says besides Olympic years, they see an uptick in sales when our nation holds a presidential election.
Can we just say it? That music needs to go. Might get me in trouble with the boss, but that music needs to go.
It's a little cheesy.
Still ahead, Christmas music. It's a whole lot better. It's from Julia Gagnon when we come back.
Christmas, with every Christmas card I write.
Coming up tomorrow on 207, after a young man from Yarmouth was diagnosed with cancer, he made it his mission to help other people his age facing the same battle.
Gibson Harnett found out he had late-stage clear cell sarcoma in 2023. It's an aggressive disease with a 1% survival rate. Gibson's positive attitude carried him through experimental treatments and helped guide him through the process of starting up a nonprofit. It's called Time to Compete, and its goal is simple: support young adults in Maine fighting cancer.
Everyone wants to be a part of it. Everybody wants to join in. And we've had some really good, exciting meetings. We don't quite know where they're going to go. It just seems like it's such an easy ask. Don't let people have cancer be by themselves. Figure out how to help.
How Time to Compete went from a motto to a movement. That's tomorrow on 207.
And if you ever miss any of our stories on 207, especially this time of year when your schedule is a little bit different, you can catch all of our episodes at any time on our new Center Maine Plus app.
You can download it for free and stream it right to your TV. It's available on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. And on this Christmas night, we wanted to share with you a recording from Julia Gagnon in our studio.
Here she is singing White Christmas.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear the sleigh bells in the snow. Oh, I'm dreaming of a Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. Of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your day be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. I said, and may all your Christmases be white, and may all your Christmases be white.
Sang with the Portland Symphony Orchestra's Magic of Christmas. Those performances are available at portlandsymphony.org through January 9th.
Thanks so much for spending part of your Christmas night with us. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.